Are you ready?
Hey everyone, it's
Can Crushers. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom, bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Got a shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody, power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you needin', and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break 'em, let's go. Yeah, Can Crushers. Yeah, Can Crushers. Let's go.
It's Miss Reality, Maddie Runkowski, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. I mean, it's not as real as me, but you could listen to my episode.
Maddie Runkowski and I have a past, and it's a past, because now we're on to new and brighter things. We're on the laws of attraction. We are somebody that lays down the law in and out of the ring. It is Journey Burke. Fast rising star in independent wrestling. You see her on the YouTube. You see her on Instagram. Literally the law. So I got to watch my P's and Q's, cross my T's, dot my I's, that I'm not saying anything stupid. She'll run me right to jail. Boom. See you later. Do not go past go. Yeah. So super excited to hear the story about Journey, how she got into wrestling. Her journey in... Oh, my God, she's going to hate me by the end of the show. How many journeys is she going to have? She don't stop believing, right? Yeah, man, she's going to hate me. Nonetheless, guys, we have to take care of some stuff. Collar and Elbow. Go shopping at collarandelbowwrestling.com. Buy the Dusty Road shirt. Buy the Monday Night War shirt. Buy a hoodie. Buy some sweats. Buy all that cool stuff. And then when we go to check out, there's a promo code box, and it'll save you 10% off of your entire order if you type in Can Crushers. All one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You'll save 10% off your entire order. That's pretty cool. Guys, you know where you can listen to us. Pretty much anywhere podcasts are. They really are. I don't have to list them all. Just go out. Whatever platform you like listening on, that's the cool one. That's awesome. You want to rate? That's cool. We love that. You want to leave a review? Even better. High fives, air high fives. All the hearts, all the stars. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. That helps us out. Just staying relevant, essentially. You want to sugarcoat it? No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to tell you the real thing. It keeps us relevant, and that's cool. We love Can Crusher Nation. So do that. Every so often, just say, yeah, I like this show. Even if you didn't, just say, I like this show. No, I'm kidding. What else? Oh, the Instagram, the Facebook, and the Twitter. We're on social media. It's all at CanCrusher69. Go ahead, like all of that stuff. Get involved in Can Crusher Nation. Get involved in the discussions. If you're a wrestler and you want to be on the show, slide into one of those DMs or send us an email at cancrusher69@gmail.com. Scheduling, always available. We love hearing your story, just like our guest today, Journey Burke. Here comes Al to tell you more about Collar and Elbow. We come back. Journey's on the line.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
Hey, this is Space Jesus Billy Starks, and you're listening to the Out of the World podcast of Can Crushers.
And welcome back to Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. It's the Spotlight Edition. And guys, you heard in the intro how super excited I was to talk to this up-and-coming independent star that is also a lawyer. So she's got this and that on the wrestling aspect. And I just want to know how it all panned out and everything. So, Journey Burke, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm great, Mark. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Are you really? That you're probably the first
I
person that's
am.
ever said that. No, yeah.
I'm always excited to talk wrestling. I literally can't shut up about it. So this is the perfect outlet.
Yes. So, all right, we'll get into you being smart and all that here in a little bit. But since you actually are, listen, we've had wrestlers or talent or referees that, and no knock on them, don't like wrestling. They're in it for the other thing, you know, the glitz, the glamour, or the showcase of it. If you like wrestling, let's talk wrestling. That's what I'm here for.
Oh, heck yeah. Let's go.
Let's learn about you first. That was such a lie. Who introduced you to wrestling as a little Journey? You know, how did you discover this? Mom, Dad, Uncle Joe?
So I actually didn't really start getting super into wrestling until 2020. So grown-up journey. But I do have early memories of my aunt, who is like The Rock's biggest fan. She loved The Rock and she would always be watching wrestling. And like, as a kid, I didn't really understand it. So I didn't think anything of it. And then I actually watched the ESPN 30 for 30 on Ric Flair that they did. And I kind of was like,
The best one, by the way. Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen other 30 for 30, so I think I would agree of you know, the ones that I've seen. I really enjoyed the Ric Flair one. But after that, I was kind of like, this stuff seems really interesting. You know, I think I should check it out, see what it's all about. And initially, you know, I was one of those people that was like, oh, wrestling's fake. You know, everybody knows it's fake. Why do people even watch it? So it was a little bit of like okay, check yourself, you know, actually give it a chance before you dismiss it. So I turned on SmackDown one night, and after that, I literally can't explain it, but I was just hooked. And I've been watching it ever since.
2020 is essentially 3 years ago, 2.5, let's ballpark, because 2023 just started. So that's crazy. Have you since gone back and watched a ton of wrestling? Like if I say the Attitude Era, which I don't think is the greatest one, but it's everybody knows it. Have you went back and watched some of that now?
Yeah, so I've actually been watching through the Attitude Era because that, you know, was so popular that I have to know what it's about. So I'm not quite through it all yet, but I have been watching old Raw, old pay-per-views. I guess SmackDown wasn't around yet, but yeah, old WWE and starting to get old WCW in the mix as well. So all the big stuff that I need to catch up on, we are almost there.
And are you watching it twofold as a fan to not know what happened, or is it all about just take everything in that you can and kind of spice it up and turn it into Journey, essentially?
I think it's both. Because one, you know, like I can never get enough wrestling. I will watch indie matches on YouTube.
Yeah.
I have IWTV, you know, like if I have downtime, you know, a lot of people will watch stuff on Netflix. I will watch wrestling matches. Like that is just what I like to do. But part of it is, you know, studying some of the greats, like recently in WCW, I guess it's Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio. Did I have that right?
Yep. They both were there.
Cool.
Yep.
I just want to make sure. Yeah. So they're feuding right now. And like just watching them is just like, holy moly, this is incredible. And so some of it is tape study a little bit, just so I can familiarize with myself with the names and, you know, some of the more famous moves and things like that. So that if I do something, I know that I'm not, you know, offending anybody or trying to like look like something I'm not. So I want to make sure that I have a good knowledge of wrestling history so that I can apply some of it to what I want and stay away from other things that I don't want.
These are all questions. I'm just going to jump all over the place because you're a wrestling fan, and that's awesome. When you get into training, and we'll talk about that, but Do your trainers have you going way back, maybe to like AWA stuff? Because I see a lot of like, you could be Sherry Martell's, I don't know, maybe not twin, but you seem like you have a little bitchiness in you, and I love you, and I'm saying this nicely, but you could turn into Sherry quickly. Not the scary
So I don't know
Sherry
anything
part.
about her, but I will have to look her up because my trainers don't actually, some of the trainers will give us homework, but I have not been given homework. This is all just stuff I do on my own. So I always take recommendations for who I should be watching. So I guess that's next on the list.
Watch some Sherry Martell, because if you just take this whole, and we'll get into a little bit of your personal life as well, you could spin this into a major type of character, and I think Sherry would be the lead of all of it. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
So you talked about Dean and Ray. You're really liking that. Anybody else that is really in The Rock? Because please, if we don't keep mentioning The Rock, your aunt will probably get mad at me or something. But
right, I am going to send her this podcast. So
nice, good. That's all. That good numbers. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
What other people did you like? I mean, 2020, again, like we're saying, it's 2.5 years ago. Who did you like then? And, just starting to find this.
So the first person that I was really just like starstruck by, and I think this is probably similar for a lot of female wrestlers, was Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné now. And I like just the star power and her athleticism and everything that I saw from her. I was just so obsessed. Like, I was like, this is amazing. I didn't even know women's wrestling was a thing when I started watching wrestling, so I like, even just the revelation that women's wrestling existed was very exciting for me. So the first person that I really fell in love with was Sasha Banks at the time.
That's not a knock whatsoever. Go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, the second person that I fell in love with in wrestling was when I started watching AEW and Thunder Rosa came on. And Thunder Rosa is my absolute favorite wrestler in the whole wide world. So I will probably talk about her a lot today. But she was kind of like, and I'm sure we'll get into this later, but she was really the reason why I started wrestling. So those are definitely the top two. And then as I started watching the older stuff, Undertaker was someone who I really was drawn to. Just the sheer like power of the Undertaker and like the character work, I just thought was amazing.
The two women that you have mentioned come up because that's pandemic time. Listen, everybody knows that. Those two women, along with their counterparts, have it be Bailey, Asuka for Sasha, or Britt for Thunder Rosa, carried the pandemic. We've been saying this since that day, but I want you to know how we feel about this. They carried the pandemic. No knock on the guys. They were doing the same shit, just a different day. These women were bringing it and bringing it and bringing it. So you know your stuff 2.5 years in. So I'm pumped to be talking to you.
I totally agree. I mean, after seeing the feud with Thunder and Britt was really like my breaking point of like, I have to do this. Like after the lights out match, I was like, I have no choice. I have to try this. So that's definitely agreed.
Good. We're making that headway with the story mode. That's your aha moment to get in professional wrestling, because listen, we're skipping high school and everything because you didn't know wrestling was around. I mean, you knew it was, but you weren't goal oriented on it, right?
No, I was not. Yeah. I had other goals in mind, which
you did.
Luckily I was also able to achieve.
You did them. Yeah. Listen, you're a nerd both ways, and it's nice.
Exactly.
But we'll get to that again. So Britt and Thunder did it all. When did you, after that match, say, I'm making the phone call, I know a buddy that knows a buddy that can get me into tell me that whole process.
Yeah, so obviously, like I said, it was the lights out match, and I had never seen anything like that before. In my brain, I was just like, wow, I didn't know women could do this. I didn't know they would let women do this. And I was just like beside myself. So I kind of kept it quiet. I was like, I'm not really sure that I could do this. I'm a little bit older than a lot of people start wrestling out with. So I was like kind of doubting that. And I was like, I don't know that I have the ability to do this anymore. I just, so I toyed around with it for a couple months after that. And then this is also going to sound super silly, but I had a dream that I was riding in a car with Orange Cassidy and Vicky Guerrero. And they both turned around in the car and I said, what should I do next? And they said, go to training school. So if you believe in divine intervention or whatever you believe in, somebody spoke to me in a dream and said, you need to go to wrestling school.
Did Vicky say, excuse me, go to wrestling?
She did not. She was very polite in my dream. So that's when I started researching wrestling schools. And I'm based in Pennsylvania, so there are a ton around me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So you'll probably hopefully we'll be able to see each other at a show someday.
Soon.
Yes, very soon.
I've been stalking you recently. No, I'm kidding. Wait, I should not be telling your lawyer that. What the hell am I? Sorry.
Yeah, you got to be careful, man. But yeah, no. Please come out. I'd love to see you. But yeah, so I did my research on some wrestling schools in the area. I didn't know anybody in wrestling. I had never even been to an indie show because I had only, by that time, maybe been watching indie wrestling for like a month. So it was all kind of a whirlwind. And I decided that I would train at the Wrestle Factory in Philadelphia. And
one of the best in the business, first and foremost, by the way. It's just like you're I trained at the Wrestle Factory. Like it's just another one, like Martinez Wrestling Factory. It's not. It's one of the best. So kudos to you.
Yeah. And my trainer there was Sonny DeFarge, and he's been incredible. So I owe a lot to him. And yeah, like I said, the rest is kind of history, and I've just been chugging along ever since.
Okay, so we'll get into all the first day things because I love hearing the first day of training and then how you're like, well, this sucks, I'm peacing out, or your first match or anything like that. But a little bit about the Thunder and Britt thing. Huge fan of Thunder Rosa as well. I'm a Mark. I mean, Mom aptly named me. I'm Mark the Mark. I've known Britt for ever. Called her like high school basketball games on the local radio, like for her hometown. Ran into Thunder a couple years back in Pittsburgh before she was. She's always been Thunder Rosa, but before she was Thunder Rosa, like everybody knew, and you just knew about her. There was just this love around her for the community. Like she's from Texas, but she would give back to people in Pittsburgh or people wherever she was. So, yeah, I don't know if you watched Thunder Rosa's, her videos and everything, but I just re-met her again at WrestleCade, and she was down there. I'm the one that has her tattoo on her back, and she was beating the shit out of because I now have her tattoo. So if you go, it's heavily edited, but she's like, no fucking way, no, you got this. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh my God. So, yeah. But yeah,
that's so funny. I will have to go back because I do watch some of her vlogs, and I'm also actually in one of her vlogs from like I met her, and obviously I was also being a Mark, so wouldn't recommend going back and seeing, but I talked to her a little bit, and she was so kind, and I totally agree. She's the best.
I was going to bring that up because now that I know you're dreaming of Orange Cassidy, and you've met Thunder Rosa, but you have like all these people like in your pocket. Because, Speedball, Mike Bailey as well. You have Eddie Kingston. Did you meet all these before you decided to do this? Or these are all like right after you became a professional wrestler and like, hey, these are the people I love because those are smart ass people to learn from.
Yeah, this is all post wrestling. I mean, Thunder, I paid for a meet and greet, and Eddie, I also paid for a meet and greet. So I don't know them, but I got a picture with them, and they were again super cool. Speedball I met through training, and I honestly, he's gonna kill me for saying this, but I didn't really know who Speedball was. So I knew that he had a big name, and I was like, oh wow, like that would be cool to train with that guy. And through people that I trained with, they were like, yeah, come out and you'd be trained by Speedball. So once I started doing my research before that, I was like, oh, this is Mike Bailey. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely going. So, I mean, everything that I have, every person that I've met and all the things that I post on Instagram now is all through wrestling. training. So definitely did not have the chance to meet a lot of these folks before that.
Prior, yeah. Of anybody that you met in wrestling, and then we'll go back to training, anybody give you that advice that really sticks with you, you know, behind the curtain about a match or whatever, and who was it?
So actually, when I made my BCW debut, Darius Carter, and I don't know if he wants me to say this or not because he's a big heel, but Darius Carter was super helpful in terms of, you know, critiquing matches and things like that. Speedball is obviously also extremely helpful. He'll watch all our matches back and give critiques. But a lot of people will come up to you and say, "Hey, I thought this was great," or "Hey, you know, whatever." Just give you unsolicited feedback. So there are a few people who, you know, actually give detailed feedback and understand, you know, the level that you're at to be able to give you meaningful feedback. And Darius was super kind to give me that feedback after my BCW debut against Christina Marie. And he kind of was just like, you know, just keep doing what you're doing and it's going to fall into place. And that is what I need to hear because I am very much a perfectionist and will pick apart everything. But understanding that I just need to take a breath, let things play out. I'll get there when I get there. That's really helpful for me.
I love that because my mom always told me Rome wasn't built in a day, and I sound like the same way as you. I want it yesterday, not today or tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think that I'm a patient person, but when it comes to, you know, my performance or things that I'm working on, I am very much a perfectionist and impatient. And like you said, I want it now. I want it to be done, but Rome was not built in a day.
It was not. You can go back and watch that match on her socials or on YouTube, and we'll get to all her socials at the end. You guys know how these spotlights work. So, all right, let's trip back to training. You walk in day one full of everything, piss and vinegar, and you're ready to go. What do you walk out like?
Well, my day one,
that right there.
yeah, my day one was actually miserable. But in the best way possible. So I had taken like this free intro class just to see if I could handle it, see if I had what it takes for myself, like mentally, I guess. That the Friday before that, I had gotten my second COVID vaccine and I was so sick. I felt awful.
Yep.
I was so tired. I was just miserable. So that Saturday, I went to my first indie wrestling show and I was at LVAC out at the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. So that day I was also still feeling crappy, you know, had a long day of driving and watching wrestling and then got home super late. Also that weekend, we had the bright idea to move apartments. So I had been moving that day. I was tired and sick from my COVID vaccine. And then I was like, all right, time to go take some bumps. This sounds great. So I show up. I'm 20 minutes late, which is terrible because, you know, what a way to make a first impression on your first day. It'd be 20 minutes late. Luckily, it was all the legal stuff. So, you know, signing waivers and we hadn't really gotten into anything yet. But the first day, you know, a lot of people learn to take their first bump. So I was just terrified of falling down. And
right, it's not natural to throw yourself on the ground.
It is not at all. So the way that they taught it for our first day was actually very helpful for me because I didn't really have a choice. So they would put someone in tabletop on, you know, their hands and knees behind you and they'd push you over and you have no choice but to fall. So in that case, I'm like, all right, well, I have no choice but to fall. Then I have no choice but to fall safely. So, you know, you listen to everything that the trainer says and cross your arms, tuck your chin, make sure, you know, you breathe out before you hit the mat. And then after I did that, I was like, okay, all right, I think I could do this. And it hurt less than I thought. So, you know, baby steps. We were moving. We did a lot of rolls, which I also have a cheerleading background. So I was like, yes, this is great. I can do this. And after my first class, I came out and I was like, this is the most fun I've ever had in my life. So a lot of people will be like, what the heck just happened? I don't think I
I've
can do this.
never
But I
heard
was
that
like,
before.
no, I was driving home and I was like, that is the most fun I've ever had in my life. I have to go back. So I did.
That's awesome. I really have never, people were like, hey, you know, I couldn't get this down or whatever, and I'm sure there's things that you really couldn't get, but nobody's that I've talked to, we're close to 500 episodes, nobody that I've talked to has ever said, this is the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. They said, I like it, and I know it pushed forward, but you're already waving the flag. I win. This is awesome. Let's do it again. That's a great mentality to have, though.
I was gonna say it could be that I'm just a little bit of a crazy person, but I think we probably have to be in the wrestling world a little bit.
What was hard for you to catch on? Because listen, I don't do research on people at all really anymore, because I love the stories right from the horse's mouth, essentially.
Yeah.
So the cheerleading background really helped you out. Was there something that really was hard? That maybe the psychology, the ropes are hard. I mean, listen, people, they suck to run. I've ran them before. Yeah. They're miserable. But what was your worst thing?
Yeah. I mean, the ropes do hurt. So let's be clear about that one. I think it's really just the mental blocks that I had. Like when we were learning jump bumps and flip bumps, like the thought of jumping into the air and falling straight on my back was terrifying to me. So I would just do, the tiniest little hop, or like it would barely be a jump bump, and then I'd have to go in and sit, and they'd be like, okay, come take a choke slam, and I would just be like,
what?
I don't think I could, I don't know how to do this. And so I would do like the crappiest little choke slam, and it was just horrible. And then the flip bump, I just stood in the ring for probably a good 10 minutes before I did my flip bump, because I was so scared. But like I said, the trainers, Sunny was very patient, luckily, and eventually I did get it. But it was really just the mental aspect of just falling and flipping, just because I was a cheerleader, but I did not go into the air very often. And I wasn't the best tumbler. I was okay. But those two things were it was really just a mental block that I had, that I was like, all right, here we go. Got to get over this. And, eventually we got there. Yeah.
that whole baby steps thing.
Yes, exactly.
What was it like when you told the family, hey, Aunt has been telling me about The Rock? Well, I'm gonna go fight The Rock one of these days. At least I'm gonna get in professional wrestling, and then I'm gonna fight The Rock down the road in about 5 years. What'd the family think?
So after my first class, I had actually gone down to visit my family. I'm originally from Maryland, and I had bat burn all over my elbows. And my mom looks at me and she goes, "What happened to you?" And I said, because I didn't tell them I was going to do this, because I didn't want anybody to worry. I didn't know if it was going to go anywhere. So I didn't say anything for my first class. And I said, "Oh, I fell down multiple times."
Okay.
On purpose. And she just looks at me. She's like, "What?" And I said, "I went to a wrestling class." And she was like, "Okay." Because my parents have resigned themselves to the fact that I will do whatever I want, and there's nothing that you can say to stop me. So they just kind of were.
Are you a middle child? That was my mom's
initial reaction. No, I'm the youngest.
Okay. Oh, well, you're worse then. Yeah. All right. Never mind.
Yes, I'm worse. But so that was my mom's initial reaction, and unfortunately, she passed away before I really got into my training. But my dad, he was also like, gung ho. Yeah, this is awesome. Go for it. Just be safe. You're the little baby, so we don't want you to get hurt. But like I said, they've been very supportive, luckily, and I've been having a lot of fun with it, and it's been great.
That's it, and that's what it's about. It really is. Who is Journey Burke? Who is she? Like, is she relation to Mildred Burke? Do you know who that is, by the way? Did you do that homework?
I sure do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes, she is related to Mildred Burke. The last name does come straight from Mildred Burke, because I had read I don't know if you can really call it a biography on Mildred, but it was, a history of her career, basically. So I had read that book, and again, it just opened up another world of what women's wrestling is and what women's wrestling can be. And I was just really inspired by the fact that, she was the first women's world champion and she reigned for so long. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go with the last name Burke. And so the journey it's a tribute to my mom. And she had told me when I was younger that if she could name me anything else in the world, it would be Journey, like the band, because she loved Journey the band. And she always loved having, unique names, and she didn't want anybody to have, a boring name. And when she told me that, I was like 13, I think, and I thought that was the coolest name I'd ever heard. I was like, that is so cool. Why didn't you name me Journey?
Right.
So now I have the chance to choose my own name, and Journey Burke it is.
That you just gave me chills. I love you. Shout out to Mom. That's awesome. Don't stop believing. I can see Mom now. I don't know you worth Adam. We've never met, but I can just see Mom like rocking out now. Don't stop believing and all that. That's cool. Thank you for being that open and talking about that. That's cool.
I know there's a lot of, things that people don't talk about in wrestling that I think should be talked about. So as much as I can contribute to that conversation, I will do my best.
Agreed. We might get to some of that here in a minute, but all right. So we talked about your love of a couple wrestlers, and I see Thunder in you, and I definitely see Sasha in you, especially when you go to the double knees in your matches that I've seen. That's your Sasha. If there's one other person, who do you think is, the three people that make up Journey?
Yeah, so Sasha, Thunder, Mercedes, Thunder. The third person, it probably rotates a lot. I do like a lot of striking. So in my brain, I will say Speedball because he has been a super big inspiration for me in terms of developing my style. But physically, maybe not so much Speedball because his kicks are just ridiculous.
Unbelievable, yeah.
So
I was front row again, WrestleCade, and that's when he fought Dax in that almost half an hour Iron Man, essentially what it came. And both of them were just laying it in, and I'm just like, I'm wincing, and they're just like, "Yep, it's a normal day." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, so I will say that I will aspire to be like Speedball as my third person. Whether or not that's accurate, we will find out.
Yeah, we got time, right? We got time.
Yeah.
All right, so take a little break from wrestling. On off days where there's no work, and we'll get into your work briefly. There's no work, there's no wrestling. What do you like to do? Like, what's your downtime? I know you said you love watching wrestling, but listen, you're not watching it 36 hours a day. What else do you do? Cook, bake, what else?
Yeah, actually, I do enjoy cooking. So I usually just make up my own recipes. I go to the gym a lot if that's a hobby, going to the gym. And reading. I do quite a bit of reading. Right now, I am reading None of This Rocks by Joe Troman, the guitarist of Fall Out Boy, and my favorite band. So.
Okay, nice. All right, so shoot job. You are the law of attraction. You lay down the law in and out of the ring. You're a legit lawyer.
Yes, I am. I have the degree and student debt to prove it.
Oh, I'm sorry about the debt. Congratulations on the degree, but the debt, I understand.
Comes with the territory.
Right?
Mhm.
How does this all? I know you said it's from Brit and Thunder, but I mean these are really, really two separate worlds. How does
Yeah.
it come together?
So, yeah, I think going back to Brit a little bit, I had listened to a podcast with her, and she said something that really struck me because I had the same thought of, I can't be a lawyer and a wrestler. That's just ridiculous. Um, but she had said something, and she said, what we do as wrestlers are calculated risks. So, you assess the situation, you figure out what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, and if you can work that into your wrestling, you can make it into whatever style you want, and you can make it work because she has a lot of concerns, obviously, about being a dentist and having her practice and being able to practice dentistry in the future. So myself, I was worried about being concussed or being injured or having a black eye and showing up to court and saying, "Hey, judge, everything's fine. Don't worry about me."
Bar fight
so
from the street. Yeah.
So I kind of rationalized it in my brain, and I was like, you know what, she's right. There are a lot of calculated risks, and if it's something that I'm not willing to do, I will find another way to do it. So I don't think you'll be seeing me in any death matches or anything anytime soon. But I can develop my style around some of my concerns about injuries and things like that. And it's you think it might not fit together, but honestly, when you're putting so say match psychology, you put together a match, it's very similar to thinking through like the logic of a case that you have. So there's a story you want to tell to a jury, there's a story that you want to come across in whatever you're writing. You need to make sure all the parts are there. You have your intro, you have your the meat, the argument, and then you have your conclusion, the last thing you want people to remember. So it's very similar in terms of like the logic of a lot of things. And of course, cutting promos is very exciting for me because I have a lot of public speaking experience. So from being a lawyer and being trained as a lawyer, so getting to use that experience and cutting promos was also very appealing to me. So a lot of people are like you said, it seems like they are worlds apart, but there are small things that you can really find similarities in and draw from in both worlds to make both better.
The way you broke it down is iconic because that's it's unbelievable. It's exactly right. You break down a match that way. You break down a feud that way. You break down a pay-per-view that way. You just broke down a case that way. Yeah, there's the intro, the meat, and the end. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my God, that's what my podcast notes say as well. Here's the intro, the meat, and the end. So that's life. And I might have just forgot about that for a minute, that it's that similar. It really is. So
it can be very simple if you let it be. And I think, that's one of the things that I try to remember is just
keep it simple, stupid.
Simple.
Yeah,
exactly.
So on your lawyer part, and then we'll get back over to wrestling with some silly nonsense. If you could have been on one epic case, that has been done, because there's, I'm sure, many to come, but if you could have been on anything, what would you have liked to be on? The Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, OJ. I mean, where are we? What do you really like doing?
So I don't do criminal work. I do not have the stomach nor the patience for that. So I think that crosses out a lot of the cases that are very famous. I mean, obviously there's been WWE litigation out there. Had I known that I was a wrestling fan, those would be fun to just see the inner workings of those cases. And the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, actually, that would have been, I think I probably would go with that. Defamation trial, so it would be in my wheelhouse. But I think seeing everything from the news perspective, in my brain, I'm like, oh, I wonder if they did this, or I wonder what happened here, or I wonder what the procedure was for this. So to kind of like see the actual goings on in, behind the courtroom scenes versus what you see on the news, I think that would be really fascinating.
And one more stupid question. What secret court show do you watch? Like Divorce Court, People's Court, Night Court? Do you watch any of those, or you're just like, oh my God, I just can't? Good.
Yeah.
Good, because they're horrible. They're horrible
watched,
shows in the first place, but...
Well, I don't even watch like Law and Order. I don't watch any law shows.
No, like CSI or anything like that?
None of it. It never interested me.
Wrestling, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And pretty much the only lawyer movie I've seen is Legally Blonde, which I think
that's
probably
far
is not
from
surprising.
a lawyer movie.
It counts.
Okay, sure it does. It's your podcast today. Do whatever you want.
All right, so I'll ask the questions here, Mark.
Okay, go ahead. Shoot.
I'm just kidding. I didn't prepare for this.
I never prepare. That's why we're bouncing all over. Wrestling continues to change. We'll get back on wrestling now. Continues to change. Good, bad, ugly. And some of the things that I'm talking about. But what is one that just needs wiped out? That you're just like, man, this needs getting rid of in wrestling. Have it be any of the stigmas out there. What one would really, as Peter Griffin would say, grind your gears?
So I'd actually listened to your podcast with Amaris Blair, and my answer is the same as hers. Is just
I love
the
Amaris, by the way.
Stigma surrounding. She seems great, so maybe one day we'll wrestle. But yeah, I definitely want to get rid of the stigma surrounding women's wrestling and the fact that people think that women's wrestlers can't do the same exact thing that men's wrestlers can do. And I think now is actually a perfect example of all of that stuff because of the Ruby Soho, Will Nightingale, and TJ match that just happened a couple weeks ago. A lot of people are up in arms about Ruby bleeding, and we see guys do that all the time. So what's the difference?
I love that. I love Ruby in the first place, but like that, she bled more than Britt, and I'm like, oh man, you're Britt. You can't. It's Britt. You can't overbleed Britt. But I'm like, okay, whatever. But she just, it fit. It was so good. I love it. I hate that, but I agree.
Yeah.
I'll continue to agree. The whole women's thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need more than just one match on a card. That's not right.
Exactly. Yeah, I think when some announcers, and this doesn't happen very often anymore, but there are still announcers out there who will say, this is a ladies' match, as if it's like a special attraction match, and it's like, we are wrestlers. We will wrestle just as hard as the guys do. We're not doing anything different. We're trained at the same places. We're trained with the same people. So there's really no difference in what we do versus what the guys do. So,
agreed.
And I'm going to retract my last answer very way back in the beginning of my third person being Speedball. It's going to be Ruby Soho. That's the third person I would say is my inspiration for wrestling.
Okay. Is it because of that match right now? Like,
No.
I don't know. I mean, that oh my God, Mark, you're an idiot. But was it because of that, or is it because some of her like older work as well?
Yeah. So I saw her a little bit when she was in WWE, at the tail end, and I didn't know anything about the Riot Squad, but I had looked it up after I had learned about her, and a lot of her, I really related to the way that she wrestled because I think we had similar body types, and I was studying people who were of my similar body type so that I could do moves that looked convincing or do moves that would fit with what I wanted to portray. And she was pretty much exactly what I wanted to portray. And I had tried to do her Pele kick, still working on that. But that was one of the big things that I really wanted to learn was how to do a Pele kick. So
you're not bleeding like you're anytime soon, though, right?
No, not unless I get a big TV contract. So
right. It was unbelievable. Like she bled as much as Moxley. So there is where you are at.
Yeah.
I know we talked a little bit about wrestling, but I mean linked a lot of AEW. Are you still watching some of WWE or Impact or anybody like that as well? Or are you just kind of really focusing on AEW?
So AEW is definitely like the number one promotion that I'll watch. I watch it every Wednesday, every Friday. But now really I'm watching more indie wrestling than a lot of other promotions. I don't watch a lot of Impact. Sorry, Speedball, but I'll watch, matches.
We don't
that
get
they
it in
have on
Pennsylvania
YouTube.
half the time anyway. I hate to say that.
I know, yeah. If it was on my TV, I would watch it, but I don't think we have the channel. So, but yeah, I'll look up some Impact matches if I hear that they're really good. But a lot of the times I'm, looking for some of my friends who are training. If they have matches, I want to watch those. Or anything, if I learn of a new wrestler, I'm like, let's see what they did on the indies, like that kind of thing. So it's more of a research type watching, I guess.
Well, that was actually going to be my next question. Do you do homework against, like you were fighting Christina? Did you go out and watch some of her matches before you fought her? You have a match against, Bob Smith down the line, so you're going to watch some of Bob's to see what he can do or, whatever. And how are you on intergender wrestling as well? Throw all that in together.
Yeah. No, I absolutely watched Christina Marie. I think every match I could find of hers, almost every match. Excuse me. So I was, mostly because I was terrified. I was like, this is really the first time that I had gone out and wrestled somebody that I didn't normally wrestle with, because I had a match against Evelyn Sage before that, but Evelyn and I have trained together before, and we know each other, so I wasn't nervous about that one. But this was like, okay, I don't know this person, I don't know how this person works, I need to know this person's moves so that I think it's kind of a respectful thing of, okay, I know what to expect, and here's how we can work in your moves and my moves together, and thinking of cool sequences we could do. And so, yeah, I will always watch my opponent's matches beforehand so that I have an idea of what we can do together and what kind of story we'd like to tell if the promoter doesn't have something in mind already. And as far as intergender match wrestling, heck yeah. Like, I train with mostly guys, so a lot of the times that's what the practice matches end up being, is I'll be wrestling some of the guys. So anytime that, I'll wrestle anybody. Doesn't matter who you are.
There you go. And again, I want to get rid of, and I'll make this point, I want to get rid of even the word intergender, because if you're fighting Speedball, it's just a wrestling match. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
We don't have to have that stigmatism name or whatever linked to it. So yeah, it's just, you love matches.
Agree.
So
yep.
What are your goals for 2023? We could say what's your goals for like the next 5 years, but come on, let's be real. Baby steps. I know we both want to take over the world and do all this, but let's go 2023 first.
Yeah, I think 2023, I'm really just trying to get some reps in and just be the best wrestler I can be, which sounds super corny, but I am still so early in my career that I'm just kind of like, I don't even know what I can aspire to at this point. So the best I can do is keep training, keep showing up to whatever promotions will book me, within reason, of course. And then just, like I said, getting the reps in, getting my name established in Pennsylvania so that people recognize the name Journey Burke, and then we'll go on to 2024.
That's great. And I like what you said, kind of just keeping it in Pennsylvania this year. Is there any promotions? Listen, it's Pennsylvania, folks. If you don't know, we have about 5 million of them in Pennsylvania. But is there any that you're like, I'd really like to knock this off of the list by the end of the year? And if you don't have to give the name, but is there some that you're like, you really have your eye on? Because I don't want to get you in trouble if you.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's anyone in particular that I have my eye on, but I think there's a lot of promotions that have other people that I've worked with or other people that I've trained with that wrestle there. So just tagging along in their cars, easy enough. But there are promotions I have my eyes on, and hopefully we'll find a connection there.
Is there? I'm going to do twofold since you're so young in your career. Then, are there any independent wrestlers that you're like, man, I really want to work with him or her?
Mm-hmm. Obviously, I would like to have matches with a bunch of the folks that I trained with.
Well, clearly, that's your wrestling family. Let's throw that out the window. Throw your family out the window because you will in time.
Yes, I mean it's very exciting time, I think, for a lot of the people that I wrestle with. I would absolutely love to wrestle Billy Starks. Like, that is, a lofty goal, but I think if the time was right, I'd love to wrestle her.
That's funny because you know how I use teasers to bring it back after commercials?
Mm-hmm.
Billy Starks is a teaser to come back after my collar and elbow commercial for this one.
No way.
I did. I was like, I haven't used Billy in a while, so I might as well. Yeah.
There you go.
That's an omen. Yeah, you're gonna.
Yep. We're gonna wrestle each other one day. Sandra Moon is also another person that I love to wrestle. She's on the West Coast, so less likely, but I'm currently obsessed with Sandra Moon. I watch all of her stuff, and I think she's just wonderful. So again, never met her, but like I just love watching her wrestle. So those are two big names that if I had my dream indie matches right now, they would probably be on the top of the list.
I'll throw a couple out from Pittsburgh that I'd love to see you tackle. Throw Ray Lynn or / Chantilly Cella from WoW.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Katie Arquette, Danny Moe, any of those. Ziggy Haim, throw some of those in there. Yeah.
Yes,
you have to
absolutely
truck your way from the Philadelphia area, get over to Pittsburgh on the cool side. No, I'm kidding.
I love Pittsburgh. I go there all the time, so I am 100% willing to head over to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Now, the other way, we're talking down the line, because again, baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Thunder? Is it Sasha / Monet? I mean, who is the dream match?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to know where, who, and the stipulation.
Okay. Well, it's got to be Thunder Rosa.
Okay.
There's no other choice for me. Where? Probably in Baltimore, because like I said, I'm from Maryland, so close to hometown as I can get, and all the wrestling history that's in Baltimore. And the stipulation, what would that be?
We're not doing the lights out, because
no,
we don't need Judge saying, hey, what's wrong with you? So
yeah, well, I think if I get a lights out match with Thunder Rosa, I will do whatever it takes.
You have vacation. You can take vacation to clear up that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or maybe you're not the one coming out of it looking bad. Thunder is, right?
Maybe. I would probably do a steel cage match. I think that would be really cool.
Sign it. Book it.
Book it, Tony Khan.
Yeah. All right. Merch, events, what's your socials? This is your time to shine. Tell us everything that I didn't touch on that you just want the wrestling world to know about.
Yeah, so I don't have merch yet, but I am going to have 8x10s very soon. I know. I can't believe it. But 8x10s coming very soon. Social media, I have a Facebook page, Journey Burke. If you find me on there, go ahead and give her a like. Instagram is Journey Burke PW. Somebody already had Journey Burke. And Twitter is just plain old Journey Burke. Events, what do I have coming up?
No TikTok?
I don't have a TikTok yet, but I know I have to get on it because
wrestlers,
is one recommendation that I keep hearing, and I'm like, all right, I'll do it.
Wrestlers doing stupid trends. It gets a lot of views. I'm just telling you. Yeah. Learn to dance.
Yeah. So yeah, I will work on that. But yes, TikTok will be coming soon, begrudgingly, but we do it all for the business.
Listen to you.
I'm already a grizzled vet, only 2 months into
Journey.
Exactly. But let's see, what do I have coming up? I will actually be at Real Shoot Wrestling in February, on February 18th. So that's actually in Ohio. I will be at Atlantic All-Star Wrestling on February 25th. And I believe I will be hanging around BCW on the 29th of January. So those are the next couple things I have coming up if you want to chat with Journey Burke.
Yeah, and she's pretty awesome on Facebook. She does keep up. You know, I told you, like, I stalked her for a little bit. She keeps up with what's going on. It's not like, hey, I'm here next month and you don't hear from her again. So follow her and give her a like. And yeah, I'm excited about the 8x10s. We need to get one in the studio, so we have to connect on that.
Yes, I will definitely send you one. It'll be a little bit, maybe
in
like
about 6 months. No, I'm
weeks.
kidding.
Yeah. No, so it's funny. I actually have, well, when we're recording this, I have my photo shoot for the 8x10 this Saturday. So hopefully shortly after that, we can get them printed and get them out.
Yeah. All right, guys. Again, that's the law of attraction, Journey Burke. She lays down the law in and out of the ring. Journey, thank you for coming on Can Crushers tonight, or whenever you're listening, tomorrow, the next day, or whenever, because it's in the social media world now. I had a blast.
Yeah, I had such a great time too, Mark. Thank you very much, and thank you for being my first podcast appearance.
Yay! I love crossing those off. I tell this to everybody, like, I love learning the story about independent wrestlers. We know about Randy Orton and Sasha and all that. Mm-hmm. Getting you guys the stories out, it's awesome. It really is. So thank you.
Absolutely. There's so many interesting people out there. So I can't wait to hear more from you guys and more from everybody, all of my other peers, and just getting to know everyone. It's super exciting.
It's a family and it's a sickness. So it's even better.
We're all in it together. We'll get through it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Journey Burke. We are all in it together. We're wrestling fans. We're wrestling marks. We're wrestling enthusiasts. We're everything. So, yeah, man, I love that interview and dropping it that this was her first podcast. You'd never know. It's like she had I don't know, she was a DJ back in her younger days or something. I don't know. Maybe she was. I love everything about this. About, again, not knowing wrestling until a little bit older. 2020, again, 2.5 years ago, if you want to go by numbers, 3 years ago, the whole COVID time. And I love that she supports everything we say, that it was Britt and Thunder, it was Sasha Bailey, Asuka, like it was all of them carrying wrestling during that COVID time. So, yeah, she supports us. I support her. All of it. I'd love to see a match, her and Thunder Rosa. I'll have to call Rosa and see if we can get this to happen. Maybe we have it happen in Pittsburgh. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Journey, thanks again for coming on the show. Had a blast. Guys, make sure you watch. 8x10 is going to be coming out soon. I can't wait. It'll be awesome to have one hanging up in the studio. So, yeah. Again, you want to be part of the show, cancrusher69@gmail.com. We'll get you all scheduled, or reach out on any of our social medias. Love to have you come on and tell your story. Like the law of attraction, Journey Burke. Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. Call us a garbage can, not a garbage cannot. Make sure you tell your loved ones you love them, because you never know.